The morning rush was always the same, the shrill sound of the alarm, the hurried scramble to get dressed, and the half-sipped coffee that never seemed to give enough energy. Emma had become a pro at handling the chaos of city life. She'd mastered the art of running down the stairs, dodging other commuters, and racing towards the train that would take her to work. Today, however, would not be the same. It started as a typical Tuesday. The sun was hidden behind a veil of grey clouds, casting a soft, muted light over the streets of New York. Emma had already slipped into her favorite black dress, paired with a cardigan that didn't quite match, but was cozy enough for the chilly morning air. She was running late as usual. The train station was packed with commuters, everyone looking tired but determined to get to their destinations. Emma had just enough time to catch the next train if she hurried, but something caught her eye. Sitting on a bench, almost as if he were waiting for her, was none other than Keanu Reeves. Yes, Keanu Reeves, the actor. She almost stumbled in disbelief. Was this a dream? She rubbed her eyes, thinking the foggy morning was playing tricks on her. He was wearing a simple hoodie and jeans, his face partially obscured by sunglasses, but it was unmistakably him. He was alone, just sitting there, looking deep in thought. Emma froze. She couldn't take her eyes off him, and in that moment she lost track of time. She should have been rushing to catch the train, but there was something magnetic about his presence. He didn't look like the glamorous Hollywood star everyone knew. Instead, he looked like a normal person, struggling with the weight of the world like anyone else. Before she knew it, the train doors closed with a hiss, and Emma's heart sank. She had missed it by mere seconds. The one train she could afford to catch, and she missed it because she was staring at Keanu Reeves. She cursed under her breath, realizing she had no choice but to wait for the next one. But then, to her surprise, Keanu stood up from the bench and walked toward her. His gaze met hers, and for a split second she felt like she was in some strange dream. "Excuse me," he said, his voice surprisingly warm. "I think I might be lost. Could you point me in the right direction?" Emma blinked, still in shock. You're Keanu Reeves, right?" she stammered. He smiled, a genuine and slightly mischievous smile. "Yeah, that's me. But don't make too much of it. I'm just trying to figure out where I am." Emma nodded, her brain finally catching up with the moment. "Of course, I can help. Where do you need to go?" Keanu gave a small laugh, shrugging. "I'm not entirely sure. I just moved here recently, and everything's a bit overwhelming." Emma felt a strange mix of excitement and nerves bubbling inside her. She couldn't believe she was standing in front of him, helping him of all things. And yet, in that moment, everything felt oddly normal. There was something about him that made her feel comfortable, like she wasn't talking to a movie star, but just another person in need of help. The train station around them buzzed with the usual hum of commuters, but for Emma, everything else faded into the background. There was something magnetic about this encounter. The chance to help someone, to connect with someone, felt more important than anything else at that moment. She offered him a small smile. "I'm Emma, by the way. I can show you around." "I'd appreciate that," Keanu said, his smile softening. "Maybe I can make it up to you for you missing your train." Emma chuckled nervously. "Oh, no worries, I'm used to it. New York trains are always unpredictable." They started walking together, and Emma couldn't help but feel a strange sense of excitement. This was one of those rare moments where life threw something unexpected her way, something that would change the course of her day, and maybe even her life. Before they got too far, she turned to him, still a little stunned. "So what's it like being Keanu Reeves? I mean, the whole fame thing must be overwhelming, right?" Keanu looked at her thoughtfully, as if choosing his words carefully. "It has its moments, but I try to stay grounded. I'm just a guy trying to figure it all out, same as anyone else." It was a simple response, but there was something profound about it. Keanu wasn't the larger-than-life celebrity she had always seen on screen. In this moment, he was just a person, a human being with his own set of challenges. As they walked along the bustling streets of Manhattan, Emma couldn't help but wonder what was really going on in his life. There was a heaviness to him that she hadn't expected. But before she could ask more, the moment passed, and they found themselves in front of a cafe. "Well, this is it," Keanu said, gesturing to the cafe. "I think I'll have a coffee. If you don't mind joining me." Emma smiled, trying to hide her disbelief. "Sure, I'd love to." They entered the cafe, and as they sat down, Emma still couldn't wrap her head around what had just happened. She had missed her train to help Keanu Reeves, of all people. Was this some sort of sign? Just as she was about to ask him more about why he seemed so distant, her phone buzzed. A reminder flashed on the screen. Important meeting in 20 minutes. Emma's heart sank. She had no idea how long they had been talking, but it was clear now that she was running even later than before. "I have to get to work," she said, standing up quickly. "I'm so sorry." Keanu stood as well, his expression softening. "No problem. Thank you for helping me today. I really appreciate it." "Of course," Emma said, trying to hide the nervous flutter in her chest. "Take care, Keanu." With that, they parted ways. Emma couldn't help but smile to herself as she walked away. She had missed her train, but had she gained something far more valuable? Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Emma's thoughts lingered on the question as she made her way to her meeting. Emma spent the rest of the day in a daze. She had barely made it to her meeting on time, and though her presentation had gone well, her mind kept drifting back to the brief interaction she had had with Keanu Reeves. She couldn't stop replaying the moment in her head, the way his eyes had met hers, the genuine smile he gave her, as if she wasn't just some fan but a person with something to offer. Back at her apartment, Emma threw her keys on the kitchen counter and kicked off her shoes. She was exhausted, but the events of the day seemed to have lit a fire in her that she couldn't put out. She picked up her phone and scrolled through her social media, her feed flooded with posts about the latest celebrity sightings in New York. But there was one post that caught her attention, a photo of Keanu. It was taken from a distance, but it was definitely him, sitting in a cafe, just a few blocks from the place she had helped him earlier that morning. A smile tugged at the corner of Emma's lips. She had no idea why, but something about that picture made her feel like there was more to their brief encounter than just a random act of kindness. Maybe it was just her imagination, but she couldn't shake the feeling that fate had intervened. Suddenly her phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. She glanced at the screen, her heart skipping a beat. New message. Keanu Reeves. Her breath caught in her throat. Had he reached out to her? Was this some kind of sign? She hesitated for a moment before opening the message. "Hey, Emma. It's Keanu. Hope you're doing well. I was wondering if you'd like to grab coffee tomorrow. I'll be around the city, and would love to chat more. Let me know. Keanu." Emma's fingers hovered over the keyboard as her heart raced. Could it really be him? She read the message again just to make sure it wasn't some kind of prank, but no, there it was. His name, the message. It was real. Her initial instinct was to ignore it. It felt too surreal, too risky. What would people think if they found out she was meeting Keanu? Was it a mistake to even consider it? But as the minutes ticked by, a different part of her, the part that had always been curious, always wanted to take risks, won out. She typed back, her hands trembling slightly. "Hi, Keanu. Wow, this is unexpected. But sounds great. I'd love to grab coffee tomorrow. I'll be around. Let me know where." She hit send before she could second-guess herself, and then, as if to calm her nerves, she took a deep breath and collapsed onto the couch. Her phone buzzed again almost immediately. "Great. How about the cafe on 5th and Elm? See you at 2 p.m. Emma stared at the message, disbelief still hanging in the air. Tomorrow. She would be meeting him tomorrow. But why? What was this really about? The clock ticked on, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about coffee. There was something more, something beneath the surface that she couldn't quite place. But for now, she would. Go because it felt right, because she was curious, and maybe, just maybe, there was something about this whole experience that could change her life in ways she never expected. The next morning, Emma took extra care with her appearance. It wasn't a date, she reminded herself, but there was no harm in looking put together. She opted for a casual but elegant outfit, a light sweater and jeans that fit just right. She wanted to feel confident, but she also didn't want to come off as too eager or too underdressed. It was a delicate balance, but she hoped she got it right. By the time she arrived at the cafe on 5th and Elm, it was a little before 2 p.m. She stood outside waiting for Keanu to arrive, her nerves on edge. The cafe was small and cozy, the kind of place that felt like it was frozen in time. The door opened with a soft jingle, and there he was, Keanu Reeves in the flesh, looking just as down-to-earth as he had the day before. He spotted her immediately and gave her a warm smile. "Hey, Emma," he said, walking toward her. "I hope you found the place okay." "I did," she replied, a little breathlessly. "It's nice in here." Keanu nodded. "Yeah, it's one of my favorite spots. Quiet, not too many people." "Know about it." They exchanged pleasantries as they walked up to the counter to order their drinks. Emma could feel the butterflies in her stomach. But as they settled into a corner booth, she started to relax. Keanu wasn't just some star with a million things on his mind. He was just a guy who had taken the time to reach out to her, to ask for help, to connect. They spent the next few minutes chatting about everything and nothing at all. How Emma had ended up in New York, her job, her hopes for the future. Keanu listened intently, sharing his own thoughts on life, the challenges of fame, and how sometimes it felt like he was just another person trying to find his way, like everyone else. It was easy to talk to him, easier than Emma had expected. There was no pretense, no air of superiority. He was just Keanu, the person, not Keanu, the actor. At one point, Keanu asked her, "So, Emma, what makes you happy? What's one thing that keeps you going even when life gets tough?" Emma paused. It was a simple question, but it felt deeper than anything she'd been asked in a long time. She thought about it for a moment before answering. "I guess it's the idea that there's always something more to discover. A new challenge, a new chapter. I don't know, I guess I'm always looking for the next adventure." Keanu smiled. "I get that. Sometimes the journey is the thing that keeps you going, even when everything else feels like it's falling apart." There it was again, that connection, the kind of understanding that went beyond words. They spent the next couple of hours chatting like old friends. The conversation flowed naturally, effortlessly. As they finally parted ways, Keanu gave her a smile that felt like a promise that maybe, just maybe, this was only the beginning of something important, something bigger than either of them could predict. "Thanks for the coffee, Emma. I'll see you soon," he said, his tone friendly but genuine. "Anytime," she replied, still processing everything. "Take care, Keanu." As she walked away from the cafe, Emma couldn't help but feel that something had shifted inside her. This wasn't just an ordinary meeting. There was a spark, a sense that life had just handed her an opportunity, and she had no idea what to do with it yet. But she was ready to find out. The following days seemed to fly by in a blur of work, emails, and routine. Yet despite the hectic pace of her life, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. It wasn't just that she had met Keanu Reeves, though that in itself seemed surreal. It was the connection she had felt with him, a bond that seemed oddly natural, given their vastly different worlds. For the next few days, she thought about the conversation they had. There was something about the way Keanu spoke about life, his challenges and his journey that made Emma rethink her own path. He was successful, undeniably talented, and one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood, yet he was humble, almost self-deprecating in a way that made him seem like someone you could easily talk to, someone you could trust. It was such a stark contrast to the larger-than-life persona she had always imagined him to be. And then, as if on cue, the unexpected happened. Emma's phone buzzed again while she was at work one Thursday afternoon. She looked down at the screen and saw a new message notification. This time it wasn't from an unknown number. It was Keanu. "Hey, Emma. I hope your week's been going well. I'm in town for a few more days, and I was wondering if you'd like to join me for dinner tonight. I'd love to continue our conversation from the other day." Emma's fingers froze over her keyboard. Dinner? With him again? She didn't know what she had been expecting, but it certainly wasn't this. Her initial instinct was to panic. What if it was too soon? What if he was just being polite and she was reading too much into everything? But then She remembered the ease of their last meeting, the comfortable silence they had shared, and the way his words had resonated with her. This wasn't just some fleeting celebrity encounter. There was something real there. Her thoughts raced as she typed back, trying to keep her response casual but sincere. "That sounds great, Keanu. What time were you thinking?" Within seconds, he replied, "How about 7 p.m.? I'll send you the address." Emma couldn't help but feel a flutter in her chest. She had never expected to be in this position, to be having dinner with Keanu Reeves of all people, but she couldn't deny the pull. She was curious about him, curious about where this connection could lead. By the time she arrived at the restaurant, Emma's nerves were tingling with anticipation. It was a small, elegant Italian place tucked away in the heart of the city. Keanu was already there, sitting at a table near the window. When he saw her, his face lit up with a smile. "Hey, Emma," he greeted warmly, standing up to pull out her chair. "I'm glad you could make it." "Of course," Emma said, trying to contain the nervous excitement bubbling inside her. "I'm happy to be here." They settled into their meal, starting with small talk, discussing everything from favorite foods to the challenges of living in New York City. Keanu shared stories about the difficulty of adjusting to life in the spotlight, how his privacy was often compromised, but how he had learned to navigate it with patience and grace. Emma listened, intently, finding herself drawn to his humility. He had every reason to be jaded by the world, but instead he seemed like someone who genuinely cared about the world around him. She couldn't help but admire that. Eventually, the conversation turned more personal. Keanu asked about her life, her dreams, and what she hoped for in the future. Emma hesitated at first. She had always kept her personal life close to her chest, but something about Keanu's presence made her feel safe, made her feel like she could be open. "I guess," Emma began, unsure of where to start. "I've always dreamed of doing something that makes a difference. I don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but I want to feel like I'm doing something important." Keanu nodded, his eyes thoughtful. "I think that's something a lot of people can relate to. We all want to matter, but I think sometimes the journey is just as important as the destination." Emma smiled softly. "You've definitely got that right." They spent the next few hours talking about everything under the sun: life, career, the people they had met along the way, and the lessons they had learned. It wasn't just a dinner between two people. It felt like a meeting of minds, an exchange of thoughts and dreams, as though they were both searching for answers in the same place. As the evening wound down, Keanu looked at her with a more serious expression. "You know, Emma, I've been thinking a lot about what you said the other day, about looking for the next adventure. I think we all need something to push us forward, even when things get tough." Emma felt the weight of his words. It was as if he was speaking directly to her, reminding her that life wasn't just about playing it safe. It was about taking risks, pushing boundaries, and embracing the unknown. She nodded slowly. "I agree. But sometimes it's easy to get stuck, you know? To get comfortable with where you are and forget that there's always something more." Keanu smiled gently, as if he understood exactly what she meant. "Yeah, it's easy to fall into that trap. But I think the key is not to be afraid of the unknown. The hardest part is taking that first step." Emma felt a surge of gratitude toward him. She wasn't sure why he was so invested in her thoughts, but it was clear that Keanu saw something in her, something that made him want to encourage her to reach for more. As the night came to a close, Keanu stood up and gave her a warm smile. "I'm really glad we did this, Emma. You've got a lot of potential, you know that?" Her heart skipped a beat. "Thanks, Keanu. This has been unexpected, but really great." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small card. "If you ever want to talk more, or if you're looking for advice or guidance on anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I mean it." Emma took the card, feeling the weight of the gesture. It was as if he was offering more than just his contact information. He was offering support, encouragement, a belief that she could do more with her life than she ever imagined. Aziz. They parted ways outside the restaurant. Emma felt like she was walking on air. She had no idea what the future held, But she knew one thing for sure. Meeting Keanu had changed something inside her. It had sparked something, an idea, a possibility, an adventure. And as she stepped into the cool night air, she couldn't wait to see where this journey would take her. The next few days passed in a whirlwind. Emma couldn't quite shake the feeling that her life was shifting, but she wasn't sure how to describe it. Keanu had left her with something intangible, a sense of possibility that made her look at everything differently. It wasn't just the conversation. It was his belief in her, the way he encouraged her to step outside her comfort zone, to reach for something bigger. But Emma still had a lot to process. She had always been someone who played it safe, never straying too far from her predictable routine. The thought of taking a leap into the unknown felt thrilling yet terrifying. Could she really take the risks that Keanu spoke of? Could she break free from the comfort of the life she had built? She spent the weekend thinking about it all. On Sunday evening, as she sat on her couch flipping through a book, her phone buzzed. She looked down at the screen and saw an unfamiliar number. A cold chill ran through her as she wondered who it could be. "Hello?" she answered cautiously. "Hi, Emma. This is Emily from People magazine. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." The voice on the other end was polite, but urgent. Emma's stomach dropped. "No, not at all. How can I help you?" "I wanted to reach out to you regarding a recent encounter you had with Keanu Reeves. We've been following the story, and we're interested in doing a feature on you and your connection with him. Would you be open to talking?" Emma blinked, feeling the weight of the questions settle on her shoulders. "Wait, a feature on me? But how do you even know about that?" "We've been hearing a lot of buzz around your meeting with Keanu," Emily continued, her voice smooth. "It's not every day that a regular person has such a close interaction with a major Hollywood star. There's a lot of interest, especially since it seems like you two have stayed in touch." The words barely registered in Emma's brain as she tried to process what was happening. This wasn't supposed to be a public thing. It had been a private meeting, an unexpected moment of connection. But now, suddenly, the world seemed to be paying attention. I'm not sure about this," Emma stammered. "It was just a casual coffee. Nothing more. I don't think it's something people should be writing about." "I understand your hesitation, Emma, but this could be a big opportunity for you. We're not just interested in the celebrity angle. We think your story, your journey, could inspire a lot of people. We want to give you the platform to share your experience." Emma's heart pounded in her chest. She hadn't expected her brief encounter with Keanu to lead to anything more, let alone a media frenzy. "I'm not sure I'm the right person for something like that," Emma said, feeling conflicted. "I'm just trying to figure things out in my own life. This feels a little too overwhelming." "Of course," Emily replied, her tone sympathetic. "But think about it, Emma. You've got a chance to inspire others, to show them that unexpected moments can change the course of your life. You've already caught Keanu's attention, and now people are curious about your journey." The words rang in Emma's ears, and she felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. On the one hand, this was an incredible opportunity, one that most people would dream of. On the other hand, she wasn't sure she was ready to share her life with the world. She had always been private, and suddenly being thrust into the spotlight felt like a lot to handle. "I'll need to think about it," Emma finally said, her voice wavering. "Can I call you back after I've had some time to consider?" "Of course," Emily said. "Take all the time you need, but don't wait too long. This could be a life-changing moment for you." After the call ended, Emma sat in silence, the weight of the conversation settling on her. She hadn't asked for any of this. She hadn't asked for her name to be tied to Keanu, or for her life to be put under a magnifying glass. But here it was, and she couldn't help but wonder, was this her moment to make a change? She thought back to everything Keanu had said, about taking risks, about stepping into the unknown. This was an opportunity, a chance to share her story, to show others that life could surprise you when you least expected it. But was she ready for the kind of attention that would come with it? Was she ready to expose herself to the world? The next morning, after much deliberation, Emma made her decision. She picked up her phone and dialed the number for People magazine. "Hi, Emily," Emma said when the call was answered. "I've thought about it. and I'd like to move forward with the feature." Emily's voice was immediately warm with enthusiasm. "That's wonderful, Emma. I'm so glad to hear that. I'll make arrangements for an interview as soon as possible." As Emma set the phone down, she felt a mixture of excitement and fear. She had just made a huge decision, and it felt like the first real step toward a new chapter in her life. But little did she know, the decision to go public with her story would lead to something much more than just a magazine feature. It would set in motion a series of events that would change everything. The next morning, as she was getting ready for work, her phone buzzed again, this time with a notification from a news app. She tapped on the screen, only to see a headline that made her stomach drop. "Keanu Reeves' new friend. Emma's chance." Encounter could change her life forever. Her heart skipped a beat. It had started. The world was watching. The following days felt like a blur of messages, interviews, and headlines. Emma hadn't expected the media storm that would follow her. Decision to Speak with People magazine. Every news outlet, from entertainment sites to morning talk shows, seemed to have picked up her story. Her name, her ordinary, everyday name, was suddenly everywhere. It was overwhelming, and Emma quickly realized that the life she had known was slipping away. The moment the article had gone live, her phone hadn't stopped buzzing. Texts, calls, and social media notifications flooded her. Most of them were supportive, friends congratulating her, saying how amazing it was that she had connected with someone like Keanu. But there were also messages from strangers, people commenting on her appearance, questioning her intentions, and speculating about her relationship with the actor. The most unnerving part, the rumors. People were already assuming that she and Keanu were more than just acquaintances. Some suggested that the two were dating, others claimed that Emma had used her connection with him to get fame. Emma didn't know how to handle it, all especially when some of the comments became downright cruel. Sitting in her apartment that night, surrounded by the noise of constant notifications, Emma's head began to spin. She couldn't think clearly. She'd agreed to the feature to share her story, to talk about how one unexpected moment could change a person's life. But now it seemed that the story was morphing into something completely different. It was no longer just about her. It was about Keanu, about their connection, and about something far beyond what she had imagined. Her phone buzzed again and she glanced down. This time it was a message from Keanu himself. "Hey Emma, I hope you're okay. I saw the article and I just wanted to check in with you. This media attention can get pretty intense. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out." Emma's heart softened at the message. Keanu had always been kind, and the fact that he was looking out for her in the midst of all this chaos made her feel a little less alone. She quickly typed a reply. "Thanks, Keanu. It's a bit much, to be honest. I didn't expect this kind of attention, but I'll manage." "I get it," Keanu responded. "It's hard when it feels like your personal life is being put under a microscope. Just remember, you don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with. And don't let the noise get to you." His words were comforting, but they also reminded Emma of the underlying truth. She hadn't signed up for any of this. She had simply been living her life when the story had taken a turn she never anticipated. The attention was flattering at first, but it had quickly started to feel suffocating. The next few days brought even more chaos. Emma's schedule was flooded with interviews. Talk shows wanted her to appear. Podcasts requested her as a guest. The media frenzy seemed relentless, and everywhere she went, people recognized her. It wasn't just Keanu they were interested in. It was her. The girl who had crossed paths with him by chance. One evening she found herself in front of a camera again, sitting across from a well-known host on a late-night show. The host was charismatic, but Emma could barely focus on the questions as her mind raced with everything she had to juggle. The host leaned in, flashing a grin. "So, Emma," the host began, "you're Keanu's new friend, right? There's a lot of talk about this connection between you two. How does it feel to suddenly be thrown into the spotlight?" The question felt like it came out of nowhere, but Emma took a deep breath, remembering Keanu's advice. "It's a lot to handle, honestly. I never expected to be in this position, but I'm just a regular person. I'm not some celebrity. I didn't go into this to get attention or fame. I just wanted to talk about the unexpected things life throws at you and how sometimes The smallest moments can change everything. The host smiled, but there was a glint of curiosity in his eyes. But people seem to think there's more to this than just a chance meeting. Some are saying you and Keanu are more than friends. Emma hesitated, her stomach doing flips. The question felt invasive, but it wasn't unexpected. I understand why people might jump to conclusions, but no. Keanu is a friend, that's all. We're just two people who had a good conversation and found some common ground. The host raised an eyebrow, clearly trying to dig deeper. But what if there's more there, Emma? What if there's a connection that goes beyond friendship? Do you think there's potential for something more? The question lingered in the air, and Emma felt her pulse quicken. What was she supposed to say? Keanu had been nothing but kind and respectful, but the truth was, she wasn't sure what kind of connection they had. They had only shared a few moments together, and yet now, the whole world was watching their every move. I don't know, she answered honestly, her voice steady but unsure. Maybe, but that's not something I want to rush. I'm still figuring out what all of this means. For now, I'm focused on living my life and being true to myself. The host nodded, but Emma could tell he wasn't fully satisfied with the answer. The interview wrapped up shortly after that, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the world was no longer seeing her as Emma. They were seeing her as Keanu's friend. When she returned to her apartment that evening, she felt exhausted in a way she couldn't explain. It wasn't just the interviews or the spotlight, it was the weight of the expectations, the constant scrutiny. She had never wanted to be famous, she had never sought out attention, but now, here she was, the center of a whirlwind she hadn't chosen. As she sat down, her phone buzzed once again. This time it was a message from her best friend, Sarah. "Hey, I saw you on TV tonight. You did great. But Emma, I can tell something's bothering you. Talk to me." Emma smiled, grateful for Sarah's unwavering support. She quickly typed back, "I'm just overwhelmed. This is a lot more than I expected. I didn't think everything would change so fast. I get it, but remember, you're not alone in this. You're still you, and nothing can change that. You've got this, Emma." Her words were like a lifeline. Emma closed her eyes and took a deep breath, trying to center herself. She had a choice to make, and as much as the attention was overwhelming, she knew she couldn't let it define her. There was still time to figure it all out, to stay grounded, to remember who she was. But as the days passed, one thing became clearer. Emma's life had already changed forever. It had been a week since Emma's life had been turned upside down. She had learned to smile for the cameras, to give interviews with a calm demeanor, and to answer the same questions over and over again without losing her patience. But each time the spotlight was turned off, she felt more lost. The overwhelming nature of the media attention was starting to chip away at her sense of identity. Her routine had been completely uprooted. Her phone was constantly buzzing with notifications, and she had started to dread checking it. It wasn't just about Keanu anymore. It was about her life, her decisions, and everyone else's opinion of her. She was no longer just Emma, the woman who worked a 9-to-5 job, who loved quiet nights with a book and a cup of tea. She was Keanu Reeves's new friend, a label that had started to feel suffocating. As much as she tried to stay grounded, Emma couldn't ignore the whispers in her head. Was this all worth it? Was it really about her, or was it just about her association with Keanu? She had to remind herself why she had agreed to speak up in the first place, to inspire others, to share her story about how unexpected moments can lead to life-changing shifts. But the truth was, it didn't feel like her story anymore. It felt like a narrative that was being written by everyone but her. One evening, after a particularly draining interview, Emma sat alone in her apartment, scrolling through social media. She paused as she saw a headline that caught her eye. Emma and Keanu, the real story behind the headlines. It was an article from a major entertainment site, one that was known for sensationalizing stories. The image accompanying the article was a photo of her with Keanu, taken at that coffee shop in Los Angeles. They looked so carefree in the picture, but the headline made her heart drop. It was as if the world was trying to manufacture a fairy tale between them, one that wasn't there. The article suggested they were secretly dating, that Keanu was smitten with her, and that Emma had somehow landed herself a place in the Hollywood world. None of it was true, and yet the story was. Spreading like wildfire. Emma leaned back in her chair, staring at the screen in disbelief. This wasn't what she wanted. She had hoped that by sharing her story, she could keep some semblance of control, but now she felt like she was spiraling. Suddenly, her phone rang. The caller ID said, Keanu. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't heard from him since. The article had come out, and she knew that the media had probably made its way to him too. She quickly picked up the phone. Hey, Keanu, she said, trying to sound casual, but failing to hide the unease in her voice. Emma, he greeted, his voice calm but warm. I saw the article. I just wanted to check in and see how you're holding up. I know all of this must be a lot to handle. Emma let out a deep breath. It's overwhelming. The media is blowing everything out of proportion. I never asked for any of this, and now it feels like they've created this whole narrative that's not even true. I understand, Keanu said gently. It's hard when the media starts to spin things. People are always looking for a story. But that doesn't mean they know the truth. Exactly, Emma agreed, feeling a small sense of relief at his understanding. I feel like I've lost control of my own story. Everyone's talking about me, but no one is asking me what I actually want. Keanu was silent for a moment, as if weighing his words carefully. I get it, Emma. It's not easy to navigate this world, especially when it feels like everything is happening to you instead of for you. But you still have the power to take control. You can decide what parts of your story you want to share and which parts you want to keep for yourself. His words resonated with her, and for the first time in days, Emma felt a sense of clarity. She didn't have to let the media define her. She didn't have to follow a script that was being written for her. She could make her own choices, even in the chaos. Thanks, Keanu, Emma said softly. I needed to hear that. I've been feeling like I'm drowning in all of this attention, but maybe I can still find a way to stay true to myself. Keanu chuckled. You're stronger than you think, Emma. You've already made it this far, and you've done it with grace. You'll figure this out. Emma smiled at his words, grateful for his support. I appreciate you checking in. It means a lot. Any time, he replied. And remember, you're not alone in this. I'm here if you need me. As they said their goodbyes and the call ended, Emma sat back, feeling more grounded than she had in days. Keanu had given her something she hadn't realized she needed, reassurance. She could still take control of her narrative. She could still carve out a path that was uniquely hers, even in the face of all the external noise. The next morning, Emma woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't going to let the media dictate her life. She was going to find a way to move forward on her own terms, whether that meant stepping away from the limelight for a while or being more selective about what parts of her life she chose to share. She made a decision that day. She would release a statement. It would be simple, but it would make her voice heard. She would tell the world that while she appreciated the attention, she wasn't interested in being part of a story that wasn't hers to tell. With a sense of determination, Emma sat down and typed out the statement, her fingers moving confidently over the keys. I want to thank everyone who has supported me during this time. The attention has been overwhelming, and while I'm grateful for the kindness people have shown me, I also want to make it clear that my story is still mine to tell. I'm just a person trying to navigate an unexpected chapter in my life. I appreciate the curiosity, but I ask for the space to grow and live this journey on my own terms. Thank you for understanding. She hit send. It was a small but powerful step toward reclaiming her life. Emma had finally found her voice again, but as she sat back in her chair, her phone buzzed once more. This time, it wasn't a media outlet or a friend. It was a text from Keanu. You did great, Emma. Proud of you. For the first time in days, Emma smiled. She wasn't just Emma anymore. She was taking back her story, and with it, her life. Emma's decision to reclaim her story and put an end to the media frenzy had been a turning point. The public response to her statement was mixed, but the support from her close friends, family, and even Keanu kept her spirits up. However, as the days passed, the media began to shift their focus. No longer could they simply define her as Keanu's new friend. Emma had taken the reins of her own narrative. But that didn't mean the storm had passed. One morning, just as Emma was settling into her new routine of keeping a low profile, her phone rang. The caller ID was unknown, which immediately set her on edge. She hesitated for a moment, but decided to answer. "Hello? Emma?" The voice on the other end was unmistakable. It was Keanu. "Keanu. Hey, is everything okay?" she asked, the concern in her voice immediate. "Everything's fine," Keanu replied, though his voice carried an air of urgency. "But I need to talk to you about something. It's about the article and some new developments. Have you seen the latest headlines?" Emma's stomach twisted in an instant. She had been deliberately avoiding checking the news, trying to focus on living her life without the constant intrusion of the media, but she had a sinking feeling that whatever Keanu was about to say wasn't going to be good. "No, I haven't seen anything new. What's going on?" Keanu's tone shifted, and Emma could hear the unease in it. "There's a rumor circulating now. It's not about you and me, but it's about something I never expected to hear. Someone is claiming that they know the real reason you and I met in that coffee shop. They're implying that our encounter wasn't a coincidence, and that there's something much more orchestrated behind it all." Emma felt a cold wave of shock rush over her. "What? Who would say something like that?" Keanu sighed, clearly frustrated. "I don't know, but it's spreading fast. The rumor is that you were somehow seeking this connection, that you were trying to use me for your own gain, that the meeting wasn't random, and that you had plans for this from the start." The words hit Emma like a slap in the face. It was as if everything she had worked so hard to maintain, the authenticity, the realness of her connection with Keanu, was being turned into a scandalous narrative. She couldn't believe it. The idea that people were now saying she had orchestrated. This whole thing made her feel sick to her stomach. "That's insane," Emma muttered under her breath. "I never asked for any of this. I've just been trying to live my life." "I know," Keanu said quickly, his voice sympathetic. "But this is the game the media plays. Once they get a hold of a story, they twist it to fit whatever narrative they want. I just wanted to let you know so you can prepare yourself. This could blow up even bigger than the last round of rumors." Emma fell silent for a long moment, trying to process the weight of what Keanu was telling her. The world she had tried so hard to navigate, the one she had worked so diligently to keep grounded and authentic, was starting to slip through her. "Fingers, I don't know what to do," she admitted finally. "This whole thing, it feels like it's spiraling. I never wanted to be caught up in any of this." "I get it, Emma. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you can't let this define you. We both know the truth. The world might try to twist it, but we know who we are, and that's what matters." His words were comforting, but they didn't erase the feeling of helplessness that was beginning to settle deep inside her. The story wasn't hers anymore. It was everyone else's, and there was nothing she could do to control it. "Thanks, Keanu," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I need some time to think. I understand. Just know that you're not alone in this, okay? I'm here if you need me." Emma ended the call, her mind racing. She could feel the walls closing in around her. How had something so simple, an unexpected connection with Keanu, become this massive, uncontrollable storm? Every step she took to distance herself from the media seemed to draw them in closer. She had tried so hard to live her life without the pressure of fame and speculation, but now it was all she could think about. That afternoon, as she sat in her apartment with the curtains drawn, Emma's phone buzzed once again. This time, it wasn't Keanu. It was a message from Sarah. "Emma, I saw the new rumor. I can't believe they're saying that about you. But listen, don't let it get to you. People talk, but they don't know the real you. You know who you are, and that's all that matters." Emma appreciated her friend's support, but the truth was she wasn't sure who she was anymore. She had always prided herself on her quiet, uncomplicated life, but now she felt like she was constantly being watched, constantly being told who she was. It wasn't just the public anymore. It was the pressure she had placed on herself to stay grounded, while everything around her was changing. As the day wore on, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the rumors would only continue to grow. The question was, how long could she keep This up. How much longer could she stay in the eye of the storm before it consumed her? The media was relentless. The rumors grew, fueled by more speculation, anonymous sources, and fabricated stories. Emma found herself caught in a never-ending cycle of uncertainty. The more she tried to distance herself, the more they pulled her back in. She wasn't just Emma anymore. She was the subject of a story that was being told without her permission. That evening, as Emma stared at the news headlines once more, something shifted within her. She was tired. Tired of the rumors, tired of the false narratives, tired of feeling like her life was no longer her own. It was time to make a decision. Keanu had been right. She couldn't let this define her. But what if there was a way for her to take control, truly take control, of her own story? What if, instead of hiding from it all, she could use the attention to her advantage? What if she could show the world who she really was, and in doing so regain the life she had once known? Emma made a vow to herself that night. She would stop running. She would step into the storm, face it head-on, and show the world the real Emma. Unapologetic, authentic, and strong enough to take back her story. But first, she needed to take a step that she had been avoiding for weeks, to talk to Keanu and tell him the truth. She grabbed her phone and dialed his number. The ringing of her phone seemed louder than ever as Emma stared at it in her hand. The call she was about to make would change everything. She had made up her mind. No more hiding. No more playing into a narrative that wasn't hers. She needed to tell Keanu everything, not just about the rumors and her frustrations, but about how she had been feeling lost in the chaos. She pressed the call button. The phone rang twice before Keanu's familiar voice answered. "Hey, Emma, what's up?" "Keanu," her voice cracked slightly as she spoke his name. "I've been thinking a lot about everything, the media, the rumors, everything that's been happening, and I realized I can't keep doing this. I need to take control of my life again. I need to stop letting the world tell me who I am." Keanu was quiet for a moment, as if processing her words. "I hear you," he said softly. "I know it's been overwhelming. You're not the first person to get caught in the whirlwind, and you won't be the last, but you can still come out of it stronger. I don't want to be known for this, for the rumors, for the media circus," Emma said, her heart pounding. "I want to be known for me, for who I am, not just for some headline that has nothing to do with who I really am." "I get it," Keanu replied, "but you also have to understand, you're not just a part of this story now. You are the story. What you do next will shape how this chapter ends. It's not about the headlines, it's about what you decide to do with this moment." Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his words settle on her. He was right. She couldn't let herself be defined by the story others were telling. She had to write her own ending. "I've been so focused on the negative, on what everyone is saying about me, that I lost sight of why I agreed to do this in the first place. It wasn't about becoming a celebrity. It wasn't about getting attention. It was about sharing a message, about how unexpected things can change your life in both good and bad ways. I've been trying to hide, to shut it all out, but I can't keep running from it." Keanu's voice was steady but full of understanding. "You don't have to hide, Emma. You're allowed to be human, to feel overwhelmed. But you're also allowed to take control. You can do something positive with this, something real." Emma nodded even though Keanu couldn't see her. She had always known that deep down, but hearing him say it made her feel less alone. The world wasn't expecting perfection from her. It was expecting authenticity, and that, she realized, was something she could give them. "I'm going to step forward, Keanu. Not just for me, but for everyone who's been following this story. I don't want to let them down. I want them to know the truth. I want them to see the real me." Keanu let out a small laugh, a sound that was comforting to Emma. "That's the Emma I know. You've got this." She smiled, feeling lighter than she had in days. "Thanks, Keanu, I needed to hear that. I'll always be here if you need me," he said. "Just remember, you're in control now. You get to decide how your story goes." As they ended the call, Emma set the phone down, her heart pounding in her chest. There was no turning back now. It was time to take action. The weight that had been sitting heavily on her chest was lifting, and for the first time in weeks, Emma felt like she could breathe again. The next morning, Emma woke up with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in a long time. She wasn't going to let the media control her. She wasn't going to let rumors define her. She was going to tell her side of the story on her own terms. She sat down at her kitchen table, grabbed her laptop, and began to write. It wasn't going to be a statement for the tabloids or the entertainment sites. This was something deeper, something more personal. She wanted to connect with her followers, with the people who had been there for her since the beginning, and let them see who she really was. She typed, "I've been reading your messages and listening to your thoughts, and I want to take a moment to speak to you directly. I've always been just Emma, a person who tries to live a simple life, who never expected any of this. What started as an unexpected encounter with someone who I admire has turned into something far beyond what I ever imagined. The media has created a story that's not mine, and it's easy to feel lost in the noise. But I want to share the truth with you. This whole experience has been a whirlwind, and I've had to confront things I never expected. Yes, I met Keanu Reeves. Yes, our connection was genuine, but that doesn't make me a part of some Hollywood fantasy. I'm just like you, trying to navigate the complexities of life to make sense of it all. The truth is, I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask to be a headline or a subject of media scrutiny. I didn't ask for the pressure, the expectations, or the constant questioning of my intentions. But I've learned something important in all of this. I have the power to decide what my story is, and I choose to define myself on my own terms. I want to thank those of you who've supported me, who've understood that behind every headline is a person with real feelings, and to those who've doubted me, I'll continue to live my life with integrity. I won't let anyone's assumptions dictate who I am or who I become. This is my story, and it's just beginning." She read it over once, then twice, each time feeling stronger, more certain of her voice. This wasn't just a declaration for her followers. It was a declaration for herself. Emma took a deep breath and hit send. Within minutes, the post began to circulate. It was shared by friends, celebrities, and even some of her critics. The responses started to flood in, and Emma felt a strange mix of relief and fear. But more than anything, she felt free. As the days passed, something unexpected happened. The media, instead of continuing to churn out fabricated stories, began to shift their tone. They couldn't ignore Emma's truth, and neither could her followers. They saw her for who she truly was, a woman who wasn't afraid to stand up for herself, to take control of her own narrative. Keanu reached out to her again later that week. "I'm proud of you, Emma. You did exactly what you needed to do." And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she was finally on the right path. This wasn't just about her and Keanu anymore. This was about owning her truth. This was about making her life her own again. The days following Emma's post felt like a whirlwind of emotions. The media coverage had shifted dramatically. The tabloids, once obsessed with sensationalized rumors, had been forced to adjust. They couldn't ignore the raw, authentic message Emma had sent. Her words echoed across social media, and the comments flooded in, support, encouragement, and even apologies from those who had previously doubted her. But more than anything, Emma felt a quiet sense of peace that she hadn't experienced in months. The noise of the world outside her was still there, but it no longer controlled her. She had taken her life back piece by piece. The first call she received after her post went viral was from Keanu. "Hey, Emma, how are you holding up?" His voice was steady with just a hint of warmth. "I'm okay," she said, a smile spreading across her face despite herself. "Actually, I'm more than okay. I feel like I've finally taken back control. It's a relief, you know," Keanu chuckled. "I know exactly what you mean. I've been following the responses, and I have to say I'm proud of you. That was a bold move, but it was the right one. I had to do it. I couldn't just sit back and let everyone else tell my story. It's mine to tell," Emma said, the confidence in her voice growing stronger with each word. "You've set an example for so many people out there who feel like they're drowning in the noise of other people's expectations," Keanu added. "And that's something you should be proud of. You didn't just change your life, Emma. You've changed the way people see the world." Emma paused, her heart swelling with emotion. It was one thing to hear support from her friends and family, but hearing Keanu, a person who understood the weight of public scrutiny, say those words made her feel truly seen. "Thank you, Keanu, I needed that. I wasn't sure I could do it, but now I feel like I can face anything." Keanu's voice softened. "You can. You've already proven that." After the call ended, Emma sat in the quiet of her apartment, reflecting on everything that had happened. The whirlwind of meeting Keanu, the media circus, the rumors, it all felt like a distant memory now. The chaos, the misunderstandings, the pressure, it had all led to this moment. A moment where Emma stood firm in her own truth. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she was living for herself, not for anyone else. She was no longer just the girl who met Keanu Reeves. She was Emma, a woman who had faced challenges head-on and come out stronger on the other side. Days turned into weeks, and Emma slowly began to embrace the new reality she had created. The media buzz eventually quieted down. Some tabloids continued to spin their narratives, but the momentum had shifted. The world was starting to understand that Emma was more than just a part of a headline. She was a person with dreams, ambitions, and a future beyond the gossip and the rumors. Emma spent more time focusing on the things that truly mattered to her. She picked up old hobbies she had abandoned, like painting and writing, and started to explore new ones. She joined a small writers' group where she shared her experiences and learned from others. It wasn't about the fame or the spotlight anymore. It was about finding her own voice and using it in ways that made her happy. One afternoon, as she sat at her favorite cafe writing in her journal, she received another message from Keanu. This time it was a simple text. "I've been thinking, what if we made something out of this? Not just the story, but the lessons we've learned. What if we wrote a book?" Emma's heart skipped a beat. The idea of turning her journey into something more tangible, a story that could inspire others, was both exciting and terrifying. But she knew deep down that this was the next step. She had come so far, and now she had the opportunity to share her experiences with the world in a way that could truly make a difference. She quickly responded, "I love the idea. Let's do it." And just like that, a new chapter in Emma's life began to unfold, a chapter that was hers to write. No media, no rumors, no outside influences. The book, once completed, would not just tell the story of an unexpected meeting with a famous actor, but of a woman who found herself amidst the chaos. It would show how the pursuit of authenticity, in a world filled with noise, could lead to healing, growth, and ultimately, peace. Keanu and Emma worked together, pouring their hearts into the project. The book would cover everything, from the way media shapes public perception, to the power of owning your truth, to the importance of maintaining a sense of self in a world that constantly tries to change you. As they worked, their bond grew stronger. What had begun as a chance encounter over spilled coffee had evolved into something much deeper, a friendship founded on respect, shared experiences, and mutual understanding. Emma knew that this connection, whatever it might become, was one of the few constants in her life. Through all the ups and downs, Keanu had been there for her in ways she never expected. One evening, as they sat in her living room, reviewing the final draft of the manuscript, Keanu smiled and turned to her. "You've come a long way, Emma." She nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment wash over her. "We both have. But it's not just about us, Keanu. It's about everyone who feels like they're lost in the noise. This book is for them." Keanu's smile widened. "Exactly. It's about telling people that they don't have to be defined by what others think. They can choose their own story." The book was released to great success, not because of the celebrity tie-in with Keanu, but because of the message it carried. It resonated with people everywhere, those who had felt trapped by society's expectations, those who had struggled to maintain their sense of identity in a world that constantly demanded more of them. Emma's life had changed in ways she never could have imagined, but in the end it wasn't about fame or notoriety. It was about authenticity, about taking control of her story and finding peace in the process. And with Keanu by her side, Emma knew that no matter where life took her next, she was ready for whatever came her way. The storm had passed, and she was stronger for having faced it. This wasn't the end of her story. It was just the beginning.